Hey guys, Nugi here. Today's video is gonna be a permanent smoke screen build guide. So yesterday I posted a video about me clearing a Torment 6 Rift. Nothing out of the ordinary, just the first and the best that I could record. Threw it up there for you to see. A lot of people ask me, how is it possible, Nugi, to do permanent smoke screen? They also ask, is it even worth it? In terms of how it's possible, I'll show you later. Is it worth it? Yes. And let me give you the reasons why this is a good build. So if you obtain permanent smoke screen, there's a lot of things that you don't have to worry about at the same time. For instance, you don't have to worry about getting a good amount of vitality and all resist on every piece of gear. You don't have to worry about getting armor in the gear. You don't have to worry about getting melee damage reduction on secondaries. You don't have to worry that much about getting all these elite reduction, health globes, healing. All this just goes down the drain, boom, because we can just stand like this all day. And so I will do all this, we're immune to all damage, and we can freely shoot and pop cooldowns in between. As you can see, I'm blue, da-da-dee-da-da-die, all the time. So what this requires to make this work is a butt ton of cooldown reduction, resource reduction that you can obtain on some sets and some specific pieces of gear. Right now I have 34 cooldown reduction. One would think that you would only need 25 cooldown reduction. Your smoke screen is 2-second cooldown with a 1.5 total uptime. So with 25% of 2 seconds, that's half a second. Now we have 1.5. But in between input delay, latency, frame drops and all that, you will once in a while not be able to cast it right on the beat, right? So you need more than 25%. Depending on how much you need is determined on your stable frame rate and latency. From what I've experienced, when I start missing out on smoke screens is when I play in four player parties, groups, and I drop to like 10-20 FPS, and it started missing out, and I start getting hit every once in a while. When I play solo, I normally never really get hit until I make a mistake or I get a lag spike. So there's that to consider. So the build itself, as you could see here, 34% I have that. I have 60.7 discipline cost reduction and 56.3 hatred cost reduction. This is not assuming dinner code, but let's get into all the items after I show you the build. So let me first show you the skills that I'm using. Contagion, Mark for Death. I use this because I haven't tried out a Calamity variety. If I ever get a Calamity, I'll try out the Calamity variety and I'll show you guys how that looks like. But it's definitely a possibility. Until then, Contagion here. Loaded for Bear. Cluster Arrow. Lingering Fog, mandatory. The cluster is mandatory. You could go for Cluster Bombs. But it's between these two. These are both fire. It has to be fire, and these two are both good in their own respect. Preparation, I use Focused Mind because it's all about getting discipline all the time. Punishment, I don't see how I can fit that in right now. It would be too much of a strain on discipline. I am thinking about incorporating, if I was ever to get Calamity, I would go maybe multi-shot suppressive fire to have an additional way of gaining discipline and applying mark, and then I might be able to go punishment. Yeah, it's like in the future, assuming I might get up to like 80 discipline with Natalia's and everything. But for now I'm using preparation with this build, or no, I'm using focus mind with this build. I'm going to stay that way. It's very nice, it's reliable, discipline, backup plan. I don't necessarily like that much because I like the reliability of Focus Mind. And when you have cooldown reduction, the instantaneous cooldown here is not as strong. Well, yeah, it kind of is, but I feel like you get enough from Focused Mind, and it's more reliable. So when you need it, you get it. It's not something you have to hope for, right? Companion, I use a Wolf. Some people like using Bat. Bat gives you on-demand hatred and hatred regen, so you don't run out. The build can run out of hatred. You can cast a lot of cluster bombs, however. Let me show you how many. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, almost 19 in a row, right? So you can cast almost 19 in a row. So if you get health globes, this build is also centered about health globes. I'll come to this down here. If you are able to kill fast enough and you can manage health globes, then you won't need the Bat Companion. And Wolf Companion is a very strong DPS increase, 30% for 10 seconds. With 33% a cooldown reduction, this goes down to whoop-de-doo 20 seconds. So you have 30% increase 50% of the time if you spam it all the time. So that's quite a significant damage upgrade. Seed I use because it gives me on-demand hatred, because sometimes you do run out. And on Rift bosses as well. On Rift bosses you tend to run out as well. So I use Seed with Vengeance, and for Rift bosses I tend to swap to Mortal Enemy here. Also you can go Cluster Bombs. Yeah, and then you can like swap out for instance the Tactical Advantage down here for more damage on that. The passives, Tactical Advantage, Blood Vengeance, Perfectionist, Night Stalker. You see, this is all about resources for now. I do plan on swapping one of them, but as you can see here, we get the movement speed all the time. 60% movement speed extra all the time. This is pretty nice. So you don't need to vault anymore. You don't miss out on mobility. So that's all good. Moving on, Blood Vengeance, mandatory. It gives you more hatred. It gives you discipline per globe, another way of keeping discipline. Perfectionist, 10% reduction to discipline. The only reason I'm using this right now is because my gear is not good enough for me not to use it. I don't have enough resource reduction yet to viably use, or to viably not have Perfectionist. Night Stalker is really nice, and the faster you attack the better it becomes, assuming you have the same crit chance, and you tend to have that. So Night Stalker seems better in terms of giving you discipline than Perfectionist, but Perfectionist is still mandatory for me because I cannot run smoothly through a run without running out a few times if I don't have it. When I get a pair of gloves with more resource reduction, I will swap this for either steady aim, ambush, maybe archery, color weak. There are a lot of damage options here that you can weave into the build. For solo play I would probably go ambush here, and this would be a huge damage upgrade. So with all this resource cost reduction, it also gives you damage. So not only can you stack damage on everything, but having resource cost reduction gives you more damage in the sense that you never have to cast a generator again. Very nice. So those the passives. You can swap different here, Contagion on Molten Enemy. Options here. Only one option here. Only one real option here for now. Wolf or Bat. See this. Well, you could go Spike Trap, for instance, with another bow. With a Spike Trap bow that lures them in. That's pretty cool as well. So there's a few things you can do here. I like Seed. It really helps my resources. It also gives me discipline for all the smaller hits. Gives me a little bit of extra discipline. So not only gives me hatred and damage, it gives me discipline as well. So that's really nice. For items I am using, let's go top down. The most important item to get is Pride's Fall. Pride's Fall gives you 30% resource cost reduction when you haven't taken damage for 5 seconds, you never take damage with smokescreen. So it's always going to be up. It's going to be, this is the interaction you're looking for here. This is why this is possible. The interaction between smokescreen and Pride's Fall makes it so that you can have 100% uptime, because there's no other way you can get enough resource cost reduction without having Pride's Fall active all the time. The second mandatory option for this build is Sinnoh. If you never want to run out on Torment 6, you need Sinnoh with a high roll of resource cost reduction on fire skills, which is your cluster error. So this is also mandatory. The rest, Captain Crimson's thrusts, and waiters, or the belt. Captain Crimson, the set is mandatory as well. 10% cooldown reduction, 10% resource reduction is quite mandatory. If you don't wanna sacrifice too many primary slots, you have to have this. So these three pieces, the set, the Sinnoh, the Pride's Fall, are all mandatory in my opinion. Then we have Reaper's Wraps. I feel these are very, very good. There are some who have legacy quivers still with the cluster error reduction. If you have this, Reaper's Wrap is not necessary. Look at my hatred right now, it literally does not move. A pretty cool item, but it takes away a lot of damage. So for me it's not really useful. But it is very nice if you're going for a Natalia setup. But let me just first go over the rest of the items. So the most important ones are Pride's Fall, Sinnoh, Captain Crimson. For shoulders, I chose to go Profane Pauldrons. The pickup range becomes very, very, very important because you're living on health globes. It gives you discipline, it gives you hatred. It works with Reaper's Wraps, as you can see, globes, primary resource. So I can gain 50% of my hatred from one health globe. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. So 2 health globes and you're full, a full bar again, and then you can keep going for like 15 seconds without, you can keep going for 15 seconds straight without regenerating anything. For 2 health globes, that's pretty crazy. So these have the highest amount of secondary pickup range. That's why I'm using these. Another option you could do, that some people do, is they go the legacy quiver and then they go Orc Hills, bracers and shoulders. This is also a very good setup, but this build is supposed to be for the newer leagues, the seasons, where you don't have the legacy items. So I'm trying to create a build here that doesn't rely on any legacy or any bug usage. I'm not using Unity with Pride's Fall, I don't need to. I'm only using the items as they're intended to be, hopefully. Mage Fist is the best in slot pair of gloves you can get for this build. Fire build, all fire builds, Mage Fist. Here I need attack speed to be replaced with 8 resource reduction, right? Resource reduction I need to change for attack speed here. I could also get that on this ring here. So that's really, like, I need to get rid of the attack speed and get the reduction, and at least one more piece, because then I could probably fit in ambush or steady aim or call the weak, which would be a huge upgrade. Already I'm doing pretty nice damage. Let's go back here. So crit damage, resource reduction again. Royal Ring of Grandeur. This is a slot that you can use, but you can also opt out of it, because you can get the 3 set bonus here by just adding this. But you open up a ring slot, and what do you need the ring slot for? Well, the only thing I can really see you would need the ring slot for is if you would run a setup like this. If you had like an insane Natalia's ring that was just so much better than your Royal Ring of Grandeur. If that's the case, this is a good setup. If not, then I wouldn't even bother with it. Because we also, on belts, we have Harrington options, we have Witching Hour options, we have Hexing Pants here we could add in as well. These are all 3 very, very strong options that you could go for. Which one is better? Depends on the situation. Harrington is better if you have a lot of chests you can open, bodies you can flip, like the floors you can crack or whatever. Like if you are very good at that, I think Harrington is the better choice. Witching Hour is the go-to just high extra damage option where you don't have to think about it. If I had a better one, it might be my go-to, because sometimes when I need it, I can't find any flippable or chest-esque items to pop. As you can see here, I'm using a Manticore. I'm using a Manticore with very good stats, 10 resource cost reduction, 750 dex, high damage roll. You might think, well, it's 300 DPS less, but the 300 DPS you gain here also disappear when you run out of resources. Let me show you. Look how fast you lose all your resources. Now you need health globes. Right now, all this attack speed is for nothing. I often run out of resources when I run Natalia's. I've tried it a few times and I often run out. One thing I don't run out of though is discipline. So on the discipline side it's really good, but I would need at least a few more items of hatred or of resource cost reduction. I would probably need 2 more with 8%. Then that would be good. I do, however, gain a truckload of damage, as you can see here. A humongous amount of damage. But it's not really worth it as from what I've experienced so far. So for now I'm sticking with this option. This also gives me the Harrington. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to run Harrington, right? So because of that I lose out on Harrington. Even though my sheet DPS goes down by quite a lot, I lose the Harrington. I lose a lot of hatred. So I lose a lot of uptime, which is bad. The one option I thought about doing later is Natalia's with the Calamity setup, but because I don't have Calamity, I don't feel like I'm really gaining any real benefit from going away from the two-hander. The two-hander for me seems better right now. It has the 10 resource cost reduction. This one doesn't. This is also why the damage is so high. Imagine I removed the 7% damage, it would be fairly close, and then the resources would now matter more. Then we have for Nex, I have the Horn of Arc, so it's the best fire damage one I have right now. I would preferably maybe go Ronda's Locket. You could also go Lightning Immunity, Cold Immunity. These have a tendency to tick very high and they have a tendency to hit you. I don't understand why really. If it's because like between frames and all that you can get hit like all of a sudden. They even go through your smoke screen, the cold ticks and all that. So if you have a very good cold immunity one or a lightning immunity one, use that if you have that. Otherwise, Rondel's Locket with up to 6 globe pickup is very, very nice in this slot. Okay, Stone of Jordan, mandatory. It is the best damage increase you can get on a ring slot. I have a quiver, resource reduction, just a very nice quiver. You can get cluster bomb damage here as well. Here cluster bomb crit socket is needed on the Pride's Fall for the cooldown reduction, or yeah, cooldown reduction. So I think I went over every single piece now. If you have any questions about either stats or gear, put them in a comment below. Remember that. For Paragon points, this is also pretty crucial. You need the 10 cooldown reduction here, or you need close to it, because you do need that 30 plus cooldown reduction. I have more crit than I have crit damage in the 10-to-1 ratio, so I go crit damage for the extra boost in damage, though crit chance would give you more discipline. So you can see this, you could remove this and then you would be at 400, like you can fill out 2 by 400 Paragon. So this, I would say this is a higher Paragon requirement if you really want to benefit, like have the build really work out, because you do need enough damage, you do need enough cooldown reduction for it to really like come together on Torment 6. You can use this below Torment 6, you could do Torment 4 for instance, like Torment 4 or 5 without some of these stats, but later on you will need it. Yeah, go for as much toughness you can, because sometimes you do get hit, and when you do get hit, you want to have enough toughness so that you can withstand at least like 1 tick of something or 2 ticks. A lot of the time I drop down to like 10% and then I come back up instantly without even using the price fall. It's pretty weird, but it happens sometimes. Utility, resource cost reduction, mandatory. After that, area damage, life and hit, gold, doesn't really matter. Here you want to have hatred. You want to have enough movement speed, and then the rest just goes into dex. Pretty straightforward. Resist all first, and then life, and then armor. Paragon is pretty simple, straightforward. Cooldown reduction, and then the best ratio you can get here for damage. Movement speed and hatred, and resource cost reduction. Good. So we went over all the passives. We went over all the items. There's the Orc Hills you can change out here. If you have a Dead Man's Legacy item. There are the belt options you can swap around. There's the pants options. If you go, yeah, and then there's the weapon options, talus, and then if you then have enough hatred, as you can see here, just let me show you what kind of sheet damage you could be obtaining. With perfect gear and then a calamity, this is something you would be looking forward to with perfect gear. We will probably be looking at like 1.5 sheet DPS. With calamity on top, with you being able to spam non-stop like this with perfect gear. So there's a lot I could still obtain. So you could be doing with this kind of gear, like I'm not there yet, but with real good gear you could be really pushing out some insane damage in the end. And this is because that we don't have to focus on toughness. This is all because we don't have to focus on toughness. So there is a point to going this way without having to exploit unity and stuff for the price fall. If you want to see some gameplay with the build as I am currently using it, like this, there is a video I made yesterday, permanent smokescreen Torment 6. It's easy to find if you just look down and search my videos, or I'll put it in the description actually. So hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys next time.